Let's talk about the biggest snake that has ever existed. A creature so massive it sounds like something out of a myth, but I promise you it was very, very real. When you think of a prehistoric apex predator, your mind probably jumps to a T-Rex, right? Or maybe a saber-toothed tiger. But what if I told you that 60 million years ago, the undisputed king of the jungle was something else entirely? Something far larger and way more terrifying. You know, a story like this doesn't start with a monster. It starts with a puzzle, a single, baffling piece of bone dug up from deep within the earth, in a place that held the keys to a forgotten world. Okay, picture this, the massive Cerrejón coal mine in Colombia. Now, this isn't just any old mine. It's literally a time capsule. The coal here is the compressed remains of a sprawling 60-million-year-old rainforest. And paleontologists were digging there, searching for clues about Earth's very first tropical rainforests. So, during one of these digs, a researcher pulls out this strange, huge fossil, and nobody could figure out what it was. I mean, its size was just baffling. Some people were convinced it was a vertebra from some kind of giant crocodile. Others guessed a massive turtle. One of the first ideas was that it wasn't even an animal, maybe just a piece of a fossilized tree. Nobody, and I mean nobody, suspected what it really was. And this wasn't some quick discovery. Oh no, this mystery actually took decades to solve. Get this, the very first bone was found way back in 1994 and was literally cataloged as a piece of an ancient plant. Then another one popped up in 2002. It wasn't until 2007 when these strange bones finally got to the Florida Museum of Natural History that the real investigation could even begin. And this is where it all comes together. This is the moment all those confusing puzzle pieces finally click into place, revealing an animal that would completely shatter the record books. So the breakthrough moment, the big aha, came when the researchers, who were pretty much out of ideas, decided to compare the mystery fossil to the vertebra of a modern green anaconda. And the result? Well, just look at this. It was stunning. The fossil wasn't just bigger, it was 3 times larger and way thicker. The debate was over. There was no doubt anymore. They were looking at a snake. So, using the incredible size of that single bone, they started running the calculations to figure out just how long this snake would have been. And the number they came back with was almost unbelievable. We're talking about a creature that was, at a bare minimum, 50 feet long. Let that sink in for a second. 50 feet. This snake was longer than a city bus. Just try to picture that for a moment. A city bus parked on the street. Now imagine that, but it's a snake and it's moving. And if you thought the length was shocking, its weight was on a whole other level. The models predicted a colossal creature tipping the scales at around 1,200 kilograms. That's well over a ton. We are talking about a snake that weighed more than an average car. The sheer scale is it's hard to even wrap your head around. Science had just found the undisputed heavyweight champion of the snake world. A creature that big, that epic, could only have one name: Titanobo. But this incredible discovery didn't just give us a new monster for the history books, it also raised a giant question. How in the world could a snake possibly get that big? And the answer, it turns out, wasn't just in its biology, but in the kind of world it called home. To really get why Titanobo is so huge, you have to understand this one word: ectothermic. You probably know it as cold-blooded. Snakes and other reptiles don't generate their own body heat like we do. Their entire system, their metabolism, their energy, how fast they digest food, and especially how big they can grow, is directly controlled by the temperature around them. So, for a snake to get as big as Titanoboa and actually survive, its environment had to be seriously hot. Scientists calculated that the average temperature in its world was at least 32 degrees Celsius all year round. That's a lot hotter than the Amazon today. Titanoboa basically lived in a superheated prehistoric greenhouse, and it was that extreme heat that fueled its absolutely colossal size. Okay, so we have this 50-foot, car-sized snake living in a prehistoric sauna. But what was it actually like? How did a titan like this live and hunt and completely dominate its world? All right, first things first, just forget any movie scene you've ever watched of a giant snake chasing people through the jungle. Titanoboa was simply too heavy for that. On land, gravity would have made it incredibly slow, a real clunker. So, just like a modern crocodile or an anaconda, it became a master of the water where buoyancy could help support its massive weight. This thing was not a pursuit predator. It was the ultimate ambush hunter. It would sink that massive body into the murky swamp waters, with maybe just its eyes poking above the surface. And it would just wait, perfectly camouflaged, maybe for hours, maybe even days. And when some unsuspecting prey came to the water's edge for a drink, bam, an explosion of speed and power. But the strike was just the beginning. Its real weapon was that immense constricting power. Biomechanical models estimate its squeezing force was a truly bone-shattering 400 pounds per square inch. Now, to put that number into perspective, that's the same amount of pressure as having 2 full-grown African elephants stand on your chest. It didn't just suffocate its victims. No, a force that immense would have shattered bones and stopped blood flow almost instantly. So what kind of prey does it take to satisfy a giant like this? Well, other giants. Fossils found in the very same area show that Titanoboa was eating giant turtles with 8-foot shells and massive prehistoric crocodiles, animals that were apex predators in their own right. The discovery of the Titanoboa's skull even confirmed it had a jaw that could unhinge, allowing it to swallow prey 3 times wider than its own head. So you've got the biggest, the strongest, an animal with no natural predators. It was perfectly built for its world. It was invincible. So where did it go? Why isn't the king of snakes still around? The reason for its downfall was actually devastatingly simple. The world changed. After its time, the global climate started to cool down. And for a cold-blooded titan that depended completely on that external heat, a drop of just a few degrees was a death sentence. The very thing that allowed it to exist, that extreme heat, was gone. Its fast metabolism couldn't be sustained. Its giant size was no longer an advantage. It was a liability. The sweltering swamps and the giant prey began to disappear, and with them, so did the king. Titanoboa was a creature built perfectly for one specific environment, a super specialist in a hothouse world. Its story is this powerful, incredible reminder of just how delicate the balance between climate and life really is. A few degrees of change in one direction created an empire for a titan, and a few degrees in the other erased it forever. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What could a few degrees of change do to our world today?